corporate incest within corporate incest, because it was so interwoven and interlocked. At the same time this is happening, great business families enter politics, great media families enter business, great political families enter media and business, and you have a new convergence. Whether you're looking at the Marans in Tamil Nadu, I knew their dad, who was a journalist and editor of their of the DMK's organ, their newspaper. You can look at the Gadkaris, you can look at the Badals in the Punjab, and the political family is going into business when Mr. Raj Thackeray purchases the, what mills is that? The Kohinoor mills, yeah, at 479 crores. So you've got this unbelievable convergence of business, political and media influence. Now, what can we do? What could you do? But just before that, you know, I think that one needs to sort. I'm really appalled by the murder of Shujat Bukhari, as I was by the murder of my friend Gauri Lankesh. But I want to tell you something about, in the non-conflict zones, something about who it is who gets killed. Please be very clear about who it is who gets killed. Which kind of journalist gets killed? First of all, I have to tell you this. Shujat and Gauri knew that they ran risks. They understood a principle which I hope every journalist will understand. If you do challenging journalism, you will be challenged. Okay? Now, why am I saying that? If you look at the list, Center for Protection of Journalists brought out a list in 2016, as you know, and some of you might know I wrote the introduction and analysis of their data, of about 60 journalists killed between 1992 and 2015-16, after which Gauri and others have been added to the list. Only about 27 or 38, they could ascertain definitively that these people died because of what they wrote or what they said. Now, in those 27, 28, there is not one high-profile, big city, Angrezi corporate media journalist. Not one. All of them are small town, weak, not all, most of them, Indian language journalists. Most of them were covering crime, business and politics. Yeah? Most of them crime, corruption and politics, most of those journalists. They were more vulnerable. They don't have the social caste and class insurance that many of us had. I say had in the past tense because the murder of Gauri Lankesh tells us that the premium on that insurance has just doubled. And Gauri Lankesh, by the way, very prominent journalist, very high profile, but primarily writing in Kannada. Okay? She was bilingual and she could write just as well in English, but she worked with the Kannada media, with the Kannada language. Yeah? So if you look, what does it tell us? That not a single person from a lot of journalists in this big corporate media do romanticize themselves, and now I believe that the danger is spread. Now nobody is exempt. That notice we've been served. But it also has to do with how we define professional, how we define journalist. Most of those journalists, you see, one thing it tells me, this relative safety of all of us working in the so-called mainstream media, apart from having a lot to do with our backgrounds, also means that we weren't doing much challenging stuff. It also means that. Now that has changed, and well, there are always individuals and exceptions, and I grant at least, I know half a dozen of them, but that change has come about in this. So secondly, who do we accept as journalists? I've noticed that every time a small town, weak, vulnerable journalist gets killed, immediately we start questioning his legitimacy. Was he really a journalist? We don't do that if it happens to one of us. But we immediately question, oh, well, he was running a cycle shop and a TV store. How else would he live given what they pay the stringers? So we immediately delegitimize that small town and rural journalist who gets slaughtered. Okay? I can tell you this as the person who broke the paid news story in 2009 November. Many of you are familiar with the paid news story on the front page of the Hindu. I could do it because I worked for the Hindu, because of my social background, my class background, my caste background, and a certain national profile, hilarious though that is. If that story had been written and broken by a taluka level or village level journalist, he'd be dead. Okay? Be clear about that. Now I was fully protected and confident. All that happened to me were a huge number of bribe offers by those involved, running to crores of rupees. Okay? But I was having too much fun anyway, so there was no question of doing that. How is it that we don't accept that, we have allowed corporations to define who professional journalists are, having this daily fixed job, going to an office in a big building. Please know that Narendra Dabholkar, Gobind Pansare, and M.M. Kalburgi were also journalists and prolific journalists. Dabholkar ran his own magazine, and Kalburgi and Pansare were prolific columnists, but we don't accept them as journalists. Right? They were journalists. They were also murdered. And they were doing challenging journalism. What can we do? And of course here we also now, people always write to me asking about, is the net different? Isn't the net different? Can't we solve things? Can't we all go onto the net and social media and stuff like that? Please know that the digital monopolies are the greatest monopolies in history. There are no other monopolies that have never been monopolies on the scale and importance and power. You're just seeing Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, and that's the tip of the goddamn iceberg. Please understand that these big guys are different from all other monopolies in one way, whether it's Google, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whoever, YouTube. Who are these guys? And what is their speciality that makes them different from all other monopolies in history? These guys own your personal data and they traffic in it. They sell it. I call them human data traffickers. That's who they are. That's where the money comes from, damn it. Yeah? And how do we then? So my point is, please use the net. Please use your social media. Don't romanticize it. You will then you will end up being ineffective if you romanticize it. So don't do that. Use it as skeptically as you can. Get into it. What do we need to do? We need to democratize the media. We need to decolonize the digital. First and foremost, we need to fight to dismantle monopoly. It never ceases to amaze me how many people correctly resist, oppose state monopolies. But the same people are so easily accepting of private monopolies.